Commonwealth Games Breakfast with Nikki Campbell and Rachel Burden. This is 5 Live.
We're all live in Glasgow this morning. I'm standing on the banks of the Clyde. Nikki and George are at Cartha Queen's Park Rugby Club, not too far from where I am at the moment. But we're also keeping you in touch with all the news for today. And the main news really this morning is that Israel and Hamas have begun a 12-hour pause in hostilities in Gaza. But the recent surge in fighting has been mirrored by increasingly sophisticated use of social media to influence world opinion. And there is so much material and information out there. We'll talk to a couple of people about this. First of all, Hadar Sela is from CAMRA, the Committee for Accuracy in Middle East Reporting in America. Hadar, good morning. I know it's your job to monitor media reports and feeds coming out of Israel and Gaza. What have you made of what you've seen over the last few weeks?
Hi, good morning. I think one of the most significant factors has actually been what we aren't seeing. There's been dozens of Western reporters in the Gaza Strip the last 2 weeks and more now, and yet we haven't seen one picture. I haven't seen one picture of armed terrorists. I haven't seen one picture of terrorists shooting RPGs or anti-tank missiles or mortars. 2,000 missiles fired. We haven't seen one picture of that in action happening in the Western media. Around 10 to 15% of those missiles fall short and actually land in the Gaza Strip and often, unfortunately, injure civilians there. We've seen no pictures of that. We've seen no pictures of injuries caused by short-throw missiles. There's been at least 4 summary executions taking place by Hamas in the Gaza Strip in the last week or 2. We've seen no pictures of that. We've seen no pictures of Hamas people at all, even in the Shifa hospital where they hide out, and yet we've seen journalists attending news conferences there, but nobody's actually talking about why these people are hiding and what's going on.
I suppose the story really is, though, the story of the 700 plus people in Gaza, most of them civilians, many of them children who've lost their lives. And some of those pictures of children, some people will find uncomfortable, others will find distasteful, others will say that it's very powerful, and those are pictures which have to be brought to the world.
They're certainly very powerful pictures, and they're obviously very tragic and very sad pictures. I think there's a question here as well. You know, we've seen a lot of, as you say, a lot of pictures of dead people, dead children, injured people. We've seen at least one BBC crew that I've seen filming in a morgue. Now, one of the things that struck me is, would the BBC go and film in a morgue in the UK? I'm not sure they would. Would they show pictures of blood on the floor of a morgue in the UK? I'm not sure they would. And so you have to ask yourself, why the different standard? And what does that actually say about the journalism? Now, as you quite rightly said in the beginning, a lot of these pictures are actually intended to influence world opinion. And this is a very big factor in this conflict, because Hamas and terrorist organizations know they can't win this war militarily. They just can't. So they seek to win it on the public opinion field and on what we call the lawfare field. And so pictures like this, obviously, beyond the fact that they are obviously terrible documentation of what is happening, but they also serve a purpose.
OK,
and,
I understand what you're saying, and I want to put that point, Hadar, sorry to interrupt, to Sharif Nasher Shibi, who's a Palestinian journalist and Middle East analyst. Do you respond to that? Do you think this is all about manipulating public opinion, Sharif?
This is about showing the reality, the gruesome, gritty reality of war. You cannot sanitize war. People need to at least have the choice to see these images, to see the effect of war that it's having. And I mean, of course this is about public opinion, but because people should be moved to see what's happening to other human beings and to act. So, I mean, this is not simply a PR stunt, but this is actually war. It's not a video game. So the media should be showing people or giving people the choice to see the reality.
The problem is we have, as I mentioned, so much material. It's not just about mainstream media, be it the BBC or other big media organisations around the world, but it's now so much done through social media. There is so much on Twitter, on Facebook, and through other forms of that. But we don't really know. This is unfiltered. We don't really know if that's giving us an accurate account, a fair account of what's going on.
Well, the problem we have is that the vast majority of foreign correspondents are based in Israel. They're not based where the actual epicenter of the conflict is. So the social media is vital in getting the story out and getting the images out, because the media, for the large part, are not there. They're certainly not on a long-term basis. So this has to be the case. There are Israeli restrictions on access. Obviously, there's the danger of a war zone. So in situations like this, citizen journalism comes into its own. So unfortunately, the mainstream media has been sidelined, and the social media has really taken the role that the media should be taking in getting the images and story out.
Thank you very much, Sharif Nasha Shibi, Palestinian journalist and Middle East analyst.